Everybody's been quite excited about this, and we're delighted to
Oh,
have
no,
you
don't
here.
say that. Don't say that.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I know that there are going to be more people joining, but I'm glad to see so many of your friends and family and UWI family joining. And we are all excited about your top tier talk this evening. I would just like to welcome everyone formally. We are really, it's an honor and a privilege to have Professor the Most Honorable Eudine Barriteau as the second featured in our top tier talk series. This series really is an extension of our alumni relations programming. So it's an opportunity for graduates to share insights, perspective, plans, projects of the top university and campus management. And it allows our alumni to interact with them, to interact with our UWI leadership. So we're very happy to have you here. And I would like, as most of you probably already know, but we do have some of our younger alums who have told me that they are joining. So just in case they have started to join, I'm going to do a proper introduction and let you know even more, if you don't already, about our esteemed guest. So the most honorable, Professor the Most Honorable Eudine Barriteau is the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, and a Professor of Gender and Public Policy. She is Grenadian-born, Caribbean feminist, scholar, and activist with considerable experience in research, executive administration, and coordination of regional projects. Her research interests encompass transformational educational leadership, feminist theorizing, and feminist investigations of the Caribbean political economy and gender and public policy. Professor Barriteau is currently the lead coordinator for the inaugural Gender and Development Forum, UNCTAD 15, being hosted by the government of Barbados in October 2021. She is a member of the government of Barbados's Jobs and Investment Council and chair of the Services and the Creative Economy Committee, one of 6 subcommittees of the Jobs and Investment Council, which was convened to prepare a guide for the survival and transformation of Barbados in a post-COVID environment. So you can see she is a lady of many, many facets, has contributed and I'm sure will continue to contribute. She migrated from Grenada as a child, attended St. Matthias Girls' School, Ellerslie Secondary, and gained a BSc Honors degree from the good old UWI Cave Hill campus in 1980. She holds an MPA in Public Sector Financial Management from New York University and a PhD in Political Science from Howard University. She has published 37 book chapters and peer-reviewed journal articles, including her first book, The Political Economy of Gender in the 20th Century Caribbean. Her first job was as a teacher at St. George Secondary, a post she describes as her best work experience from the tremendous satisfaction she gained teaching young boys and girls. She has been awarded several academic scholarships and awards from universities and organizations. She was a LASPOW Fellowship Scholar at New York University and the first Caribbean woman awarded the Margaret McNamara Memorial Fund Scholarship in 1991. She has many firsts under her belt. She was an American Association of University Women Scholar in 1992 and was awarded a Howard University Doctoral Fellowship. In 1997, she was the inaugural fellow of the Dame Nita Barrow Distinguished Woman in Development Visitor Program at the University of Toronto. She was an inaugural International Research Fellow at the Center for Excellence in Gender Research in Örebro, Sweden, in April 2008, and was invited to return in November 2010 and in March 2013. So they didn't want to let you go. They kept asking you to come back. In 2018, on its 70th anniversary, the UWI recognized her for outstanding academic achievement and leadership as one of 70 outstanding Cave Hill alumni. She has received a number of national, regional, and international awards and recognitions. She was president of the International Association for Feminist Economics. In 2011, She was bestowed the 10th CARICOM Triennial Award for Women at the 32nd regular meeting of CARICOM Heads of Government in St. Kitts. In Barbados' 47th anniversary independence celebrations in 2013, she was awarded the Gold Crown of Merit, the country's third highest honor in recognition of her invaluable contribution to gender and development. In 2015, she chaired the CARICOM Prime Ministerial 5-member panel appointed to review the governance of West Indian cricket. So I know that you and Sir Hilary have a lot in common there. In 2016, she was bestowed the Order of Grenada Gold Award for Excellence at Grenada's 42nd Independence Anniversary celebrations. And in the 2019 Independence celebrations, the government of Barbados conferred on Professor Barriteau the Order of Freedom of Barbados, the country's highest national honor. And with this award, she is referred to from now on as Professor the Most Honorable. She has spearheaded a number of initiatives at the UWI. In 2016, she recommended creating a faculty of sport, which the UWI established in July 2017. The first new faculty to be introduced in 47 years. Professor Barriteau also successfully gained recognition for the Cave Hill campus in meeting comparability of standards for the Caves Hills Faculty of Medical Sciences from the National Committee on Foreign Medical Education and Accreditation in 2016. In 2018, the UWI approved her proposal for the establishment of a Center for Biosecurity Studies, which became fully operational on August 1, 2020, last year in the middle of COVID. And in 2017, she launched the Smart Campus initiative designed to reconceptualize the delivery of higher education goods and services in Barbados and the Caribbean by harnessing ICT technology to support national and regional development. On August 1st, 2020, the UWI established the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, and this was the culmination of a proposal developed by Professor Barriteau and approved by the UWI Senate in October 2019. So I have given you a kind of professional overview, and now I would like to end her introduction on a personal note, highlighting that she is the mother of coastal engineer Cabral Fanon Barriteau Foster and proud grandmother of Amari and Alia. And I think actually those might be your most important roles. So welcome, Professor the Most Honorable Eudine Barriteau. We have the pleasure now of listening to you speak on your topic, My UWI Journey. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Celia. And I really hope that this evening we could dispense with formalities. And since we all have in common here being alumni of UWI and even persons who I hope would be aspiring to be, that you could all refer to me as Eudine. Good evening to all of you and welcome and thank you very much for making time on a Friday evening to come and speak and listen. And I am hoping, especially since Celia has highlighted so many of the things that I would have mentioned and perhaps still mention in some ways, that we would get to the question and answer session more quickly, because I do not come to reflections very easily. One of the things retirement will force me to do is to sit still, perhaps for all of 5 minutes, because my style is really to plunge in and keep moving. And having to do this has forced me to pause and to try to think of what I will say to you in reflection on my UWI journey. But at the same time, as I've mentioned, I'm hoping that you would ask questions, because I will probably highlight areas that you may not be interested in, but I always enjoy a good back and forth. The first thing I'd like to say is that I'm exceedingly grateful and humbled by the opportunity to serve the region as a woman in higher education leadership. I want to thank Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles and the Council of the University of the West Indies for the confidence they reposed in me when they appointed me to lead the Cave Hill campus in 2015. But I want to start a little before that because I'm demitting office as Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal. As you heard, I was born in Grenada in a rural fishing village in the north of Grenada. And I describe myself as coming from landed peasantry. My family had and still has a good holding of land on an island off Grenada called Isle de Ron. The correct name is Isle de Ron, and in the local parlance, we say Isle de Roon. And my mother, until she migrated to Barbados, was a housewife. In Barbados, she worked in people's kitchen, in the bus stand, selling all kind of things to be independent when she left Grenada and left her marriage. My father was a fisherman farmer. The area I was from is characterized by rugged individualism and independent thinking. The people of my village, and I think that orientation has shaped me even, and this is of course mapping and looking back. Again, I have lived continuously in Barbados from 12 years old. I remember once doing a lecture on gender and migration and recognizing that I was a child migrant, even though I was quite unwilling, because at the time I didn't know that I was migrating to Barbados. And it took me about 4 years to recognize, embrace, and accept that I was not going back to Grenada. But still, I am extremely grateful to the government and the people of Barbados who have always embraced me, and for the opportunity again to serve in Barbados from a secondary school teacher all the way up to the University of the West Indies, and that embraced a period of over 40 years. I want to say too that the Grenada-Barbados dynamic gave me an incredible insider-outsider mind frame, accompanied by my mother's claim of her birth country. My mother left St. Vincent and migrated to Grenada. Again, not her choice, and this is fascinating about Caribbean people. She migrated as an infant, but she has always insisted that she was Vincentian. So living in Barbados, growing up in Barbados, being Grenadian, Barbadian with a Vincentian mother who's yet until her passing to meet a Vincentian that she was never related to. All of this predisposed me from very young to having a healthy appreciation of our rich Caribbean heritage and culture. When I became a UWI faculty, a student in the Faculty of Social Sciences, with my very good friend, Diane Cummins, we joined together and graduated together. And I'm so pleased that she has made the time to be here. I was in academic paradise. I was part of the student government, the Guild Council. I should say we did a lot of partying, and we being very much Diane and I. We took part, and I certainly took part in as many demonstrations as possible. And I managed to do some studying, but the UE years was characterized by some serious partying. And I remember when I said I read the Riot Act to the students at the beginning of the academic year last year and said to them, please don't test me. I know that you like to party as young people, but this is COVID and so on. And when I was saying it, I was feeling rather guilty, but understanding the dynamic of how we had to operate. I was taught as a student by Neville Duncan, Wendell McLean, Ralph Gonzalez, James Saki, Lyndon Lewis, all outstanding political scientists, economists, and sociologists. I was exposed to Caribbean scholarship and developed a healthy student's appreciation of the mandate and mission of the UWI and the promise of a Caribbean intellectual tradition. If I'm honest, I remember we used to think all the action was at Mona, and it would have kind of been good to be at Mona and be in the thick of whatever was happening at Mona, but we had a responsibility to make it at Cayville, and we had Monali, and we got as close as we could to whatever was the international dynamic. On graduating, my first UWI job was with political scientist Patrick Emmanuel at the Institute for Social and Economic Research, Eastern Caribbean. And I worked on publications, for example, the Bulletin of Eastern Caribbean Affairs, and tracking elections and political developments in the Eastern Caribbean. this was also some form of paradise. This was work that was sweet. I mean, one of the things they sent me to do to train very early in 1980 was the ISA in Jamaica, my very first trip to Jamaica, and something I have always wanted to do. And I got to work with Olive Senior for 2 weeks in the publications arm of ISA. And so that was very, very rewarding. The institute was then led by Professor Jocelyn Messiah, who was actively leading the path-breaking Caribbean-wide research Women in the Caribbean project. And Diane Cummins, as I mentioned, Roberta Clark, Margaret Gill, they worked on that project. And without understanding it then, I was being exposed to the issues of Caribbean political economy, intersecting with issues of Caribbean gender systems. I didn't understand it then, but that is what was happening. Working with Patrick Emanuel, tracking political developments in the Eastern Caribbean. And imagine he would send me up and down the Eastern Caribbean to follow elections and come back and write an analysis. And I was working on publications and got to visit Jamaica and work with Olive Senior and pick up the rudiments. I was also exposed to first-class women's leadership at UWI as a research assistant. I learned a lot about administration and organizing and leading from Jocelyn Messiah. Patrick Emanuel stretched my mind and nurtured my intellectual curiosity. And my ISA journey included migration from research assistant through to research fellow, punctuated with periods abroad for postgraduate studies at New York University and Howard University. And I don't have to add all on scholarship, which I discovered when I was studying in the United States, that when you're on scholarship, it meant that you weren't a wealthy student. Somebody was paying. In the Caribbean, when you heard about scholarship, it meant that somebody thought you were bright enough, whether you could pay or not, to do what you had to do. Scholarship certainly at NYU, a very rich school in Manhattan, meant that, you couldn't afford the fees, and they were quite correct. I couldn't afford the fees. When I returned to the Caribbean in 1992, and I learned that the University of the West Indies was on the cusp of establishing a Center for Gender and Development Studies, CGDS at the time, I really knew I was beloved by the goddess. At Howard University, I had fallen in love with feminist theorizing and recognized that in the Caribbean, this was an unexplored or underexplored territory in creating theories about women's experiences and how they differ significantly to that of men. I changed my thesis and I changed my disciplinary concentrations, and they became political theory, political economy, international relations, with a specialization in feminist theorizing. So the establishment of a CGDS meant I could work directly in an area for which I had developed a scholarly specialization. And I remember my very first conversation with Professor Elsa Leorini and trying to discover if I would be interested in this new post, in this new center. I said, interested? Oh my God, I'm so lucky. Because when I decided to follow this passion, I didn't know where I was going to work because I had gone off to do mainstream political economy. Now let's turn quickly to the CGDS phase. I headed the then Center for Gender and Development Studies for 15 years, 1993 to 2008. Until I became deputy principal in 2008. And I remember I did not want to become deputy principal. I loved being at the Center for Gender and Development Studies. I did not want to leave. And I called a Professor Marlene Hamilton, who may have been PVC Hamilton at the time, I don't know. And I said to her, Principal Beckles is asking me to become a deputy principal, and what do you think? I'm at the center. And she said, of course, Eudine, it's time to go. And I felt a little betrayed by it. And then she said, you have to let go the center. And I was like, oh my God, I'm clinging. And, and that was pivotal in making the decision. But it was a hard decision because I was extremely happy. I didn't even know how hard I was working in gender studies because I loved it. And I was both the head of the Center for Gender and Development Studies and the campus coordinator for the School for Graduate Studies and Research for 4 years together, 2004 and 2008. And my good younger sister and colleague, a woman I'm very proud of, Dr. Tanya Haynes, tell me, you see, Professor Barriteau, you went and did that, and now they think that all women have to work so hard. And I had to explain to her recently, I didn't know when I was being sucked into graduate studies how much it would entail. I was the first woman at UWI to hold the position of campus coordinator. I served as the deputy principal for 6 years before moving on to become the campus. I served under Sir Hilary Beckles, who was then the campus principal and, of course, our current vice chancellor. In 2014, I moved to the open campus and served as pro-vice chancellor and principal for 9 months, and then returned to Caville as pro-vice chancellor and principal in 2015. As we know, I retire from office on by July 31st and move on to a yet unspecified phase of my journey. Welcome, Rhoda. I see your picture right in front of me. Thank you very much for being here. So what are some of the developments I'm most proud of? In the CGDS, IGDS years loom very, very large, my intellectual home and passion. And I was really very pleased to introduce the MPhil and PhD program and to witness persons I had taught as undergraduates now excelling in leadership positions and seeing them now produce their own PhD students. That is extremely satisfying. And you know the future, the present is in good hands and the future is even looking better. I was very pleased to introduce the Caribbean Women Catalysts for Change research project and to publish 2 significant works in that phase. Not alone, of course, they were co-edited with Alan Cobley, a very good supportive member of faculty of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, and the first person to serve as head besides me when I traveled to the University of Toronto for 6 months. I was also very pleased to introduce the Caribbean Women Catalysts for Change lecture series to honor the memory of Dame Nita Barrow. And that now is on 25 Unbroken Years for the lecture series in the excellent hands of the substantive head, Dr. Halima Deschong, who is now Ambassador Deschong, and now interim head, Dr. Tanya Haynes. I was also very pleased with the publications and all the activities and the Triennial Award for Women, recognizing women in Barbados in 11 parishes who undertake exceptional work and who are unsung heroes. Now, as Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal, I am really very pleased that in the Mitten office, I am proud to see a current crop of UWI leaders emerging at the Caville campus, because this is vital for continuity and succession planning, but to see women among them, I would say a large percentage of women among them, even though I didn't count, but one that stands out to me is that the Faculty of Science and Technology at the Caville campus will be led for the first time at the Caville campus and the first time throughout UWI by a woman, Dr. Janice Badnock. She is the incoming dean. I had the pleasure of recommending her and the council approved the recommendation. And when I said she's the first woman at Caville, my good brother and colleague, Professor Dale Weber, said she's the first woman at UWI to head a Faculty of Science and Technology. But the faculty at Caville, the other 2 heads of departments are also women. Dr. Michelle Gittins heads computer science, mathematics and physics. Dr. Avril Williams heads biological and chemical sciences. So here we have a faculty at the campus led by women. And we still shouldn't have to signal these things out, but it is still not yet taken for granted. So I'm very proud of that. And the Sridhar Ramphal Center is headed by Dr. Genevieve Remy. She's not the first woman to head. Pamela Coke-Hamilton was there like 15 years ago, but the heads in between were men. And there are many other areas. We have a head of Department of Economics, Dr. Mahalia Jackman, a young woman who is prolific and who I'm watching very seriously because she publishes and is active and is also chair of our timetabling committee. I don't have time to go into all because I'm also very proud of the men who are there, but also exceedingly proud to see the women emerging. Also, I see many professors and deans who are now leaders who started like me on this journey, this UE academic journey as research assistants or assistant lecturers. For me, it is very satisfying to see them rise to the fore and occupy positions of leadership. I congratulate Professor Justin Robinson, Professor Troy Lord, Professor Dwayne Devonish, Professor Donna Maria Maynard, Professor Philmo Aline, Professor Aaron Kamgisha, Professor Isabel Constant, and these are all persons who emerge in the last 3 to 4 years, sometimes 2 to 3. In terms of other developments, I'm proud of because I think when you're in leadership, you're only as good as the team you work with. And I am extremely proud of the management team, the senior management team. And I include our deputy principal who is here with us this evening and who is so hardworking and work intelligently and smart. And I could leave things to him. Professor Winston Moore, our campus registrar, Mr. Rommel Carter and Bursa, Ms. Lisa Aline, and all the deans and directors. We make decisions collectively. I know I have the final say, but we do have widespread consultation. And I am also very very pleased that we have a highly engaged faculty and staff providing national and regional service. I get great satisfaction when I look in the papers and see colleagues from Kville doing wonderful things, doing controversial things, just doing what the University of the West Indies is supposed to do, it being disruptive, making contributions, calling attention to things. And one of the indicators we have in the current strategic development plan, the AAA plan, is we have a key performance initiative that 50% of the academic and senior admin staff must be engaged in service on national and regional bodies. And at the Kville campus, it exceeds 50%. When I report at Campus Council, I have to use, about 10 slides to put in all the ones who are giving service. So I am extremely pleased about that. And also the high percentage, and I would say the highest percentage of academic staff at Kville train in the latest pedagogical techniques of online teaching, in terms of graduating with the postgraduate certificate in teaching and learning, the postgraduate certificate in teaching and learning. And that is very satisfying. Now, part of it is a leadership, a management decision of insisting when we come to campus appointments committee, if you're due for contract renewal, the first thing we ask, whether you're a professor or a lecturer, are you required to do the postgraduate certificate in university teaching and learning? Yes. Have you started? No. 2 years until you finish. Why? Because since 2009, when the university adopted this policy, it said this was a condition of contract renewal. And the greatest degree of compliance was to do the follow-up and insist that our operational techniques and administrative functions reflected the policy. And that is something that I learned from Jocelyn Messiah. But because we have that high degree of engagement, it meant that when we had to move into the online environment within just short notice of 2.5 weeks, Kville was able to make that transition seamlessly without any form of outside help, because our academic and teachings, all the staff, have very high percentage of them have completed that certificate. And the measurement of the engagement, again, is the fact that we assist our host government, Barbados, but in multiple ways, and we respond to requests from Eastern Caribbean governments and once we get them. And the latest example, which I'm extremely proud of too, is how we assisted the government of Barbados in conducting a national survey on health standards using 400 students, Kville students, not Barbadian students, Kville students. In other words, once you're at Kville, so they would have included, the majority would have been Barbadian, but they would have included any student registered at Kville, Trinidadian, Jamaican, Grenadian, and those student volunteers conducted a survey designed by the Department of Management Studies under the able leadership of Dr. Dion Greenidge, dynamic in collecting information in 300 polling districts in 30 constituencies, gathering information on the prevalence of conditions that could indicate whether or not there's a presence of COVID or dengue, and feeding that information in real time back to a command center manned by postgraduate students who were doing a master's in business analytics, and analyzing that data with their lecturers and feeding the information later in the evening now to the government of Barbados, the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And so this was an example of so many things coming together. When the Prime Minister contacted me and asked for assistance, I readily agreed that the Cable campus would assist, because I think going into the highways and byways of Barbados was especially important for our students, so they could see all dimensions of of a Barbadian society, the rural, we still have rural areas, and that they could understand making a contribution. As Celia mentioned, I was very pleased that the VC embraced the idea of the Faculty of Sports, which I introduced the concept that we needed a Faculty of Sport. And I stated that on March 12, 2016. And the VCs immediately grasped the potential and operationalized it, because the Vice Chancellor, as principal, had created the Academy of Sport at Caville. So the Faculty of Sport was a natural outgrowth from the Academy of Sport, and the faculty came into being in 2017. When I spoke of the Seek and Save survey, I see that as one of the stellar outcomes of the Smart Campus initiative, which was incubation in my head for about 6 years and operationalized on the campus for 4 years. I introduced it at Campus Council on March 10th, 2017. And when we launched that initiative, it was towards harnessing information technology and cloud services, towards transforming educational delivery, pedagogical practices, enhancing student experience, diversifying content, improving services to clients, and more effective management of facilities. And it's kind of interesting because I describe myself as a digital dinosaur. An ideal day for me would be to be in a library surrounded by old books. I like the tactile feel of books, and the older the book, the better, rare manuscripts. But I also understand that in the 21st century, I don't see technology as an end in itself. I see it as a tool, and it has to be harnessed. And we have to use it to enable all the things that we believe in. So the introduction of the Smart Campus initiative, also, we are seeing the multiple benefits. I've spoken about the Seek and Save survey. We have electronic check-in for examinations. And when we piloted that 2 years ago, I was a little nervous. I said, oh God, the students gonna come cussing, but everything went smoothly. And we know when students are in crisis, when they're missing exams before the end of the exam period in real time. So, and for me, the best sense of the international recognition of how the Smart Campus initiative has taken hold at Caville was this year we won the Ncfme Impact Award. The Caville campus was one of 6 universities globally to be awarded this the Ncfme Impact Award in the category of digital transformation. And I just want to tell you what are some of the things very quickly that they liked about what we had done. That we were working with local internet providers to provide zero-rated access for students, providing them with laptops and tablets, offering our first online new student orientation, which was received very favorably by the students. And I have to thank Director of Student Services, Ms. Dale Lynch, for excellent work with the deans and the faculties to make this happen. And in doing many of the things we did, we saved about 70,000 Barbados dollars, but that savings was good because we had to spend far more in equipping classrooms and learning spaces for hybrid teaching. But the judges, because they told us after What they liked, that we provided services like psychological and career counseling, health insurance support, disability services, all of those things online. And for our students who were stranded in the Caribbean when they went home and couldn't come back and they could still take classes, they also had access to health services and could go to doctors in Antigua and file a health claim right here at Cavell and get the results. Of course, I was very proud of the introduction of the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. And in leaving office, my one regret is that the faculty is not university-wide, but I think it will become that. The one musical instrument of the 20th century is the steel pan of Trinidad and Tobago. And we know the rich, vibrant history, cultural arts, scholarship in all of the Caribbean countries. And we think of Jamaica and Trinidad as leading, but also to unearth what exists in all Caribbean countries. And the faculty offers undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in cultural studies, dance, theater, film, and short certificate courses. And they're now expanding in music. And on August 1st, they will have completed 1 year. I was also very pleased with the introduction of a Center for Biosecurity Studies, working very closely with a good colleague who is now a Minister of Health for the Health Commissioner for the corporate state of Lagos in Nigeria area with 20 million, Professor Akin Abiomi, who used to be at the Cavell campus many years ago. And in that, with the establishment of the Center for Biosecurity Studies in 2018, fully operationalized last year with the appointment of Dr. Kirk Douglas, and he is continuing to make the center under his leadership and with his staff vital contributions with a wide range of programs. The latest initiative is called I Can't Breathe, and it seeks to support Caribbean governments in tackling global warming caused by greenhouse gas emissions, etc. I want to move on quickly. I'm very pleased that we attain Ncfme Accreditation, which is the National Council for Foreign Medical Education and Accreditation of the United States Government Department of Education, and that the Cavell campus earned that status for the government of Barbados because it's bilateral, it's government to government. But when the Barbados government went up to the United States, it was only the Cavell campus submission on medical education that gained Barbados that accreditation status. And what it means for the Cavell campus is that we now qualify to receive federal funding for American students to study at Cavell. There's a lot of paperwork that comes after that, and we are working on it, but we earned that status in 2016. Very quickly, there are only two areas I'll mention because the time is going. Educational initiative, a trade mission, to Ghana, and MOU with the University of Ghana. We did that in 2017. And I'm very happy to say that, fingers crossed, August 1st, 2022, the Cavell campus should be welcoming the first preclinical students from the University of Ghana. We worked out a program where Ghanaian students of the University of Ghana will spend 3 years at the Cavell campus pursuing the preclinical aspect of their program, and on completion transition seamlessly to the clinical years. But at the same time, normally that is 2.5 years. We tacked on another 6 months, and the students will get a degree from the Cavell campus in preclinical medicine, and they will go into medicine in the University of Ghana and graduate there. The two universities set up articulation committees, and we have met for over 1.5 years. The Ghana Medical Council, the Ghana Dental Council, the Ghana Council of Higher Education, all of it has been signed off, and similarly the Senate and BUS and our bodies at the university here, these bodies have also signed off, and the legal agreement, we were finished with it at the Cavell campus and is with the University of Ghana to now the legal signing, which seems pretty close. And the last, well, the financial management. As you know, the University of the West Indies has been going through a lot of financial challenges, just like our governments. The Cable campus has had, like most others, a pretty serious run. But I'm very pleased with the leadership provided by the bursar and the senior management team and all the deans and heads. We have managed our resources. Someone sent me an article in yesterday's Gleaner, and the report says that the UWI's current composite financial index is minus the article. It says that minus 1.21 and that the standard is 3. No, I cannot verify the accuracy of the Gleaner's figure that the UWI is minus 1.21. I do accept that the standard is the standard. That is, when you look at composite financial indices, an index of 3 is what is the standard. But what I would like to say, especially on behalf of the bursary, but of the campus, is that as I demit office, the Cable Composite Financial Index is 7.56. This is double the accepted standard and indicates that the campus management has operated within the financial measures available to it. So even though we have been having declining contributions from our governments and we recognize the hardships that they are facing, we have lived within our budget. And so I am very pleased that Cable currently has a composite financial index of 7.56. And the very last, enhancing the research culture and expanding the collection of papers of outstanding West Indians. So I'm very pleased, along with the existing collections inherited, which was the Richard B. Moore collection, the George Lamin papers, the Federal Archives, those I met as principal or coming into leadership, that during my tenure, I was able to add to the papers. And from the center days, the Dame Eugenia Charles, first woman as Prime Minister and leader of a political party, and to win 3 successful general elections. The Cable campus has the Dame Eugenia Charles papers, the Dame Nita Barrow papers. I'll just say Governor General of Barbados. I'm not doing justice to Dame Nita, far more than that, international citizen, convener of the Nairobi NGO Forum. We have the papers successful in acquiring the Morris Bishop and the People's Revolutionary Government papers, and those were all microfiche. The papers of the Right Honorable Professor Owen Arthur, Prime Minister of Barbados, the papers of the Right Honorable Errol Barrow, His Excellency, a national hero. We have acquired his papers. Sir Hugh Springer, former Governor General of Barbados, I think an original registrar of the University College of the West Indies. And we are actively seeking the papers of other prime ministers and leaders. I'm writing to them and harassing either the estate or them to donate, because I understand the importance of us having these documents to study, to understand the emergence of Caribbean political economy. I want to look at them to see how they have dealt with issues of gender and public policy. And in closing, I want to thank Sir Hilary Beckles, our Vice Chancellor, for the opportunity he has given me to exercise leadership. All the numerous persons in the UWI who over the years have served as mentors and advisors, Pat Emanuel, Jocelyn Messiah, Marlene Hamilton, Barbara Bailey, my good friends and co-heads of units with me, Rhoda Reddock, Patricia Mohammed, Leith Dunn, my executive assistant, former executive assistant, Deborah Dean, who has been my admin assistant, my current staff, Kerry, Saniel, Alicia, Ina, Margaret, Richard, Elvis, Yolande, all my friends and family, all Mr. Chelson Lovell, who I rely on so heavily, a director of Marcoms, all the women and men of the Cable campus I've had the pleasure of working with. I want to thank you, and I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eudine. That was amazing. Your UWI journey has really been something else. You've had a tremendous impact on the campus, and you really have brought innovative and transformative thinking to not only thinking, but infrastructure to the UWI. And most importantly, I think helped in facilitating women's leadership. So for that, we thank you. And I should just mention that I've seen online several women leaders here who are here to support you. You already mentioned Marlene Hamilton, but Elsa Leah Riney is online, Julie Meeks, Cecile
Oh,
Clayton.
yes, Julie. I was so happy to see Julie. Thank you for coming, Julie. My deputy principal at the Open Campus.
Yes, and Cecile Clayton, who is the retired Deputy University Registrar, Veronica Simon, Michelle McLeod from the Bahamas, or formerly of the Bahamas and now in Jamaica. We have some younger leaders as well. I'm very happy to see online Charlene Simon, who is the Open Campus UWI Stat Vice President of Disaster Mitigation and Climate Change, and several others. But also Sir Georgia Lane is here, and also Sir Rodney Williams, the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda. So you have a lot of people that have come out to support you.
And my good friend Joy.
Yes. And you, as I've said, your synopsis, it was really a summary of all that you've done during your UWI years and how you've impacted the campus, but not only the campus, the university and the broader Caribbean, because your awards and accomplishments reflect that. What I'd like to ask, first of all, is there are a couple of questions in the chat, and I'll ask persons to continue to type in the chat. But one of the things that you mentioned, because I was going to ask if you had any regrets, and you did mention that the Faculty of Creative Arts at Cave Hill is not yet university-wide. But as you indicated, you're hoping that it will become that in the future. Do you have any other regrets?
I don't do regrets very well, because but I wish I could have done more for the Faculty of Science and Technology at the Cave Hill campus. And I had spearheaded infrastructural and renewal project, and we were making very good headway. We got a grant from the Caribbean Development Bank to do a feasibility study. Sir George was very instrumental in helping us to see labs in the United States at the University of Miami. And we were talking to European Investment Bank, and the consultants had brought in a very good report. And we were just on the cusp when COVID hit. So I have asked the deputy principal to lead, and when Professor Landis becomes principal, well, I will brief Professor Landis, but the deputy principal in charge of innovation and entrepreneurship we have decided to take certain steps. So we are going to introduce a commercial analytical laboratory first and have very good demand for that. But I really wish we could have broken ground a little bit, do something for the Faculty of Science and Technology, because you cannot be in the 21st century and not have an updated, well-equipped Faculty of Science and Technology. And my colleagues in that faculty need it. The campus needs it, and the region. So I would allow myself that tiny regret there, but I don't like to do regrets.
So I fully agree, and I really don't think you should regret, because you've really kind of planned it. It's just to actually actualize it, and COVID has really derailed a lot of plans. So never mind. We have a question: how the COVID-19 pandemic, how will that impact socially and economically gender in the Caribbean? Do you think?
Oh, I mean, what we know, gender is cross-cutting. And what the COVID-19 pandemic has shown up is how it hits women disproportionately. If Barbados mirrors the region. In the tourism economy, the majority of the person who became unemployed were tourism workers, and the vast majority of them are women. And one of the distinguishing features of Caribbean societies, and this came out so much in the Women in the Caribbean project and continues to hold, that when you talk about a female-headed household, it is not a woman just in there living by herself. That may characterize some middle-class households, some professional traditional households, but you still have at the lower income level, when you say female headed, a single woman who is the main provider and young dependent children. And so there are great disruptions, great burdens that are cast on women. You look at the COVID-19 pandemic and the volcanic ash in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So it's both the pandemic and the disruption of lives and livelihoods and the volcanic ash in that context. And so the pandemic has exacerbated existing inequalities. In almost all Caribbean societies, we have had a rise in domestic violence because the trajectory on that as to what happened when there is economic dislocation. And the expert in gender studies on this is Dr. Halima Deschamps. She has done wonderful work on intimate partner violence. But we know that that COVID has made life more unbearable for women. And in a planning session we had with UNCTAD Secretariat just this week, we emphasized to them that we are going to use the lens of gender, the intersecting and the pandemic as a way entry into talking about the issues of trade and the issues of development, and reminding UNCTAD of why UNCTAD was set up, because the pandemic enables us to see all the inequalities in a very sharp form and how it affects women. And I should say the differential impact on women and men, because it also impacts men too. But if you have dependent children and you have lost your job and it's you and two more, then there's three of you who you have to feed however you can.
Absolutely. It certainly has. And we're just hoping that women will be strong enough to also ask for help when needed. And we're all looking forward to see how that pans out.
We need the state, we need our governments to understand and to accept the catering for that differential impact, the work that women do in the care economy on the writing, formal production. And we often think of, trafficking in women as only relation to sex, but there's a traffic in terms of agricultural labor and exploited labor, and in other parts of the world, children labor. And to have the state, Caribbean states and states in terms of the global South accept the responsibility to tackle that. So we can't leave it to hoping and wishing. We have to create the conditions that change that. And we have to hold our government's feet to the fire on that.
Absolutely. And we'll be behind you. That could be perhaps your next phase. We'll come behind you and help you with that. But that leads into the next question, because Cecile Clayton is asking, will you really retire, or is there a plan for the next phase of your life? So maybe that's part of it. I
saw that, Cecile. Thank you for coming. I am retiring from the University of the West Indies, and I don't know what I'm doing next. I want to sleep for about 3 months, and then we'll see what happens. There's a part of me that wants to do teaching, graduate teaching, and I think I may do some of that. But I don't have any active plans. I don't know what I will do next. But I do know that I'm looking forward. My staff had started to unpack the books, so the shelves on that side are empty. And they said, "Principal, we're going to leave some behind you for this, But I tell, as soon as this is over, the boxes are waiting. So anything I do after these shelves are going to be clear. There's a statement made by former Prime Minister, His Excellency Barriteau, I will not be caught lingering on the colonial premises. So I'm going to clean this place out.
Yeah, good for you, Eudine. And you must come to Jamaica. You must come to Jamaica for even 1 week of your 3 months sleep.
My dear, you have heard about Amari and Aliyah. You heard that I'm a grandmother. Let me tell you, they are in Jamaica waiting on me. My son is in Jamaica, and these beautiful, gorgeous little feminist babies that cry like feminists, they are Grenadian, Barbadian, Jamaican, because I'm not letting the mother and father write me out of the equation. So I actually have 2 little Jamaican granddaughters, Jamaican, Grenadian, Barbados, a nice Caribbean mix-up.
Yeah,
so
just
I
give me a
should be in
shout.
Jamaica a lot.
Give me a shout when you're here.
All right. I'll do that. I'll ask Celia how to get hold of you.
Yes, for sure. Okay. The next question is, you sit on some boards of directors, and what do you think about women's presidents in them in terms of decision making? I know that I'm sure that your presence is felt, but just in general.
I think on the boards I sit on, I see women increasingly in playing leadership roles, because it is not only getting there, but is acting when you're there. And so in terms of the ones that I sit on outside of the university, I would say, well, of course, I'm not on any board in which women constitute 50% of the membership. And I'm far more concerned about inside the university, of course, and how to increase women's presence and how to have them be confident about their participation. And so wherever I can, I do that mentoring. But at the same time, I see much more women coming to the fore. It is not yet 50%. And I don't know that I am into quotas, but I would just like, because you see, when you're into quota, there's a sense that there's a percentage that is adequate, and I'm not into a percentage that is adequate. I am into, if perchance at some point all 5 principals are women of the women of the Caribbean, or principals of UWI, and there's a woman who is vice chancellor and a woman who is chancellor, so be it. I know for some they might get a little excited, but when they were all men, nobody complained, because I know to get to that level, everyone starts off being qualified. But I'm really excited about the leadership of young women in the Caribbean. They're doing wonderful and fantastic things. They're building on the work that has gone before, and they are creating waves, and in different sectors they're doing more. So I think it's changing. I think they are very confident with finding voice and creating change.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, there's a comment now. Craig Tuckett, who is from St. Kitts and Nevis, the president of the chapter, the alumni chapter there, would like to take the opportunity to commend and thank you for the work you've done in involving our alumni in your administration and giving back to the Caribbean and to our student, the present student KPhil body. So your work is obviously being recognized, and we thank you, Craig, for that comment. Again, lots of people commenting. Elsa Liaraini says, I hope that the rich summary we have been treated to is to be expanded into a full analysis and publication of a volume on your exceptional academic life, Eudine. So I think we all hope that.
I haven't thought about that, but we'll see. I'll have lots of time from August 1st. Well, I should say after October, because I have to work on this UNCTAD forum and complete that. And that finishes early October. So after October, I'll have some good time. I forgot to mention a woman who has been so instrumental in guiding me. This is not being a mentor, but in really providing me with excellent advice and guidance, and that is Jacqueline Wade, the former campus registrar. I had the pleasure of working with her briefly when I was deputy principal, but when I became principal, she had already retired. But there was no time I could not pick up the phone and talk about any issue with her. And I really want to thank her for, in fact, I told her in one card I was sending to her to say thank you, that when I came into the position, I felt institutionally naked, and she provided the clothing and and that was really, really excellent. And so I want to record my appreciation to her too.
That's wonderful. And it's wonderful when other women support other women. I think we need to do that more. We have a question. What are your thoughts on a faculty-specific program in tourism or migration and diasporic studies, especially for small island states in the global village?
It seems like a perfectly reasonable area to pursue. I don't know if it's being thought of as a standalone program or courses, but I really do think that we have a responsibility to understand more about ourselves and to analyze our societies and to use that analysis to inform other areas, apply that knowledge. So I think that analysis in terms of tourism and small island states and charting through the implications of that, I think that is necessary. I don't have any fault with it. I haven't seen it. I mean, I don't know if it came up in anything, but I am all for Caribbean studies. I'm all for respecting ourselves and what we represent. And you know, the whole thrust of the 70s when we were actively creating knowledge, and whether it's on the economy or in political science or Caribbean sociology, you know, I think that we have made an incredible contribution and in the literature and so on. And I think you know, the rest of the world could learn from us. But I do respect that knowledge. And in medicine, the Faculty of Medicine started UWI, and we have a long and rich tradition that is well known, by the way. And I think that is why in Ghana it was easy to pursue that program, because the University of Ghana was set up in 1948, like the University of the West Indies. And our reputation in medicine is well known in the Commonwealth Caribbean countries. So I think we have to celebrate what defines us and analyze it. And you know, really treat it with the scholarly respect it deserves and whatever. But I have often said to friends, one of the things, and I say that and people laugh, in terms of Caribbean sociology, I would have liked to have brought a proposal to establish an Institute of Obvious Studies. And I say it and everybody break out laughing. It's kind of heretical, but to the extent that it reflects Caribbean culture and belief systems and some form of religion and what it means and what people take succor from, I see it as another thing that defines us and that we need to understand it. Why people invoke certain imagery, not in terms of the practice of the dark arts or all of that, but why has this had a spell on us? So the residual, we should do it.
For sure. I now have a question from Kenneth Connell, who is asking, what is your advice to young and not so young scholars who must now navigate in a much different academic space than from what you found earlier in your career? What should they guard against? And so on. And he's also thanking you for your contributions.
Well, thank you, Kenneth. Kenneth has been a critical member of my internationalization team to Ghana and Kenya. I think you have to build networks. So whether or not you are located in a particular faculty, you must build alliances and find like-minded persons who care about the institution and care about the goals. We all want career advancement. Let's take that as a given and don't apologize for it. But in the process of wanting to advance and to recognize our legitimate ambitions, we also want to advance the University of the West Indies. So whether you're in medicine or social sciences or gender studies or sports, law, culture, find others who think like you and who network and encourage each other and find ways to support each other, because somebody who is a lecturer today is a head of department, tomorrow is a deputy principal, a pro-vice chancellor. It unfolds and it helps that with these networks, you know how to access each other and you know how to provide an understanding of the system. A lot of the time when UE doesn't work, and we do have challenges, I admit to that readily, is that people don't understand the system. They haven't taken time out to understand it. And so they blow up and say something because it's a frustration and you think HR is against me, or the registrar is against, not the registrar, the person, but the office of the registry or even the office of the principal, without understanding how the UE works. I once heard Sakit say, people think they advance things by coming and putting something in the hands of the principal. They think they bypass everything. That's a good way to get your stuff lost. And only when I became principal, I understood if it belongs to HR, take it to HR. Let HR, get in touch with the office of the principal. But on the whole, I would think building networks internally, respecting the institutions, looking for ways to add value, and staying to the mission and respecting ourselves as Caribbean people who are not newcomers to creating knowledge. Kenneth and I have very good conversations about the doctors, the grandmothers who are serious doctors and into bush tea and things like that. and how that knowledge needs to be respected.
Absolutely. And you're speaking my language too, because I fully believe in alumni relations, it's all about relationships and networks. So they are extremely valuable. I have a question, well, comment from Rhoda Reddock saying, congratulations. This is a proud legacy, marshalling the campus through a challenging but successful period, and saying that it was really a pleasure working with you and over the years. And from her experience, you'll be moving on to new and exciting adventures. So you need to rest up, because there's still a lot more good work and hopefully a lot of recreation to come.
Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you.
Geraldine is asking on the issue of migration. What are your thoughts on the high level of migration of some of the region's best graduates to industrialized nations? With the economic difficulties created by COVID, do you expect this to increase?
I think it will. Well, there are different kind of constraints that we experience, but for a very long time, the Caribbean has had. I remember some years ago, PVC Beckles and someone else in Bus had done a book on brain drain. And that's not new to the Caribbean, but the Caribbean has always been a very migratory space. And when I was doing research for a lecture on gender and migration, I was really stunned how in the early 20th century, people were moving up and down on cargo boats and, just seeking new poles. So there was intra-Caribbean migration, inter-Caribbean migration. In a society as an island as large as Jamaica, there would be migration from the rural areas to the more urban areas, and then the migration of the 19th and 20th century. So migration is not new to the Caribbean. And yes, the brain drain will happen. We can't prevent it. I don't know that we can tie people down, but I also think that Caribbean people tend to be relatively loyal and find ways to give back and to return. And to the extent that we will turn up in international spaces, I think why not? Why not populate the UN? Why not bring, one of the things that we had done traditionally was turn up in spaces, international spaces, and just wow and silence people with the sheer weight of our intellect. The Lucille Mayers and Angela King and others like that, Nita Barrow, when they spoke, a woman told me once, we had to say to ourselves, but these women are from tiny islands in the Caribbean. Do they know that? They speak so powerfully and so convincingly. And that conversation was the genesis of the research project, Caribbean Women Catalysts for Change. Professor Connie Sutton, she said, Eudine, you have to study why Caribbean women who are in leadership are the way they are. But the larger question of migration, yes, I think it will continue to happen. What is frustrating about it, however, is that it is, at one point, working class persons were allowed to migrate more easily. And that to the metropole, so to speak, that has been cut off. And so they do cream the creme de la creme, the best and the brightest, but a lot of our societies can't absorb them. So something is going to, and I do wish that persons who are migrating as workers, even when they do migrate, they have better conditions of work and are less exploited. But I see it as something that will happen for more educated and qualified persons.
I agree, and I'm sure others do as well. But your point about the loyalty is very true. I think Caribbean people never forget their roots, and I'm very happy, and I'm sure you are too, about the impact that Caribbean people have on the world, because I do believe we have a tremendously positive impact. I think without us, the world would not be a great place. So it's a good thing we are here. Sir George Elaine just wanted you to know, I think he's probably left now. He was saying, well done, an excellent presentation, but he has to leave for another engagement. And Yuma has also said that your work is very greatly appreciated, and Cave Hill is going to miss a great dynamic leader. And I think you should be very pleased with all the comments and all the questions. One of the last things is, what was your reaction when you heard that you had been awarded the Order of Freedom of Barbados?
I was kind of, oh no, let me, first when I got the call from the Prime Minister, I was given a choice of becoming a dame or being given, in fact, she said, Eudine, the government of Barbados has decided to honor you with becoming a dame. And I paused because those who know me well know that I never wanted to be a dame. And I didn't know what to say to the Prime Minister. And I said, oh, dear Lord, I don't want to be a dame. And then she went on to say, however, you have a choice, and we have another award, and it is called the Order of Freedom of Barbados. You can accept being made a dame of, I don't know if it's an Andrew or whatever it is, the dame. I remember really getting a little cold and frightened because I didn't know how to say no. And then she said, and the Order of Freedom of Barbados. And I said, oh, well, let me think about it and I will call you back. And I called my son because we are very good friends. I was actually in Barbados when she called me. It was in October and I was up for graduation and meetings. And she said, you have to call me back very soon because we have to know for independence. So that must have been October 2019. And we discussed it and I said, Cabral, I can't handle the game business. I can't handle in business. And it is not that I look on it. It's just that in terms of my persona and how I see myself. So I was extremely honored, extremely to be part of Barbados' inaugural award, the Order of Freedom of Barbados. So that, and just the sound of it at 53 years of independence, And then my mindset is, the dame and the knighthood, they're very good awards. They start, but in my thinking, in its origin, it wasn't for us and it spread to the Caribbean. I respect everyone who had it, but I know personally, I never wanted to be a dame. So I was very grateful that, because I don't know how I would have said no, to be honest. I don't know. I think it would have been rude. But so I didn't have to face that.
Wonderful.
And of course, it was wonderful to have that honor.
Absolutely. Well, we are very, very proud of you. And we thank you for sharing your UWI journey with us this evening. We know that the journey is not over. From all the comments, we are all expecting lots of great things, and we'd love to be involved and to know about what you are doing in the future. So please continue to keep in touch so that I can let the graduates of the university know, and maybe you can involve some of them in what you have been doing. But as you will see, you can read from the chat that people are really giving you many blessings and praises, and that you will be missed. So you're not to go too far away from the UWI family, but you will always be part of us, and we look forward to you sharing. And as you travel the Caribbean, because as you said, you're a Caribbean woman and you have networks and contacts all over, and grandchildren in Jamaica, so I know we'll see you over here.
Yes.
That we wish you the best. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And thank everyone for coming. I am really, really touched by this. Thank you.
All right, good night, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I know some of you are in different time zones, and it's a lot later and earlier in some places, but thank you for being here. And I'd just like to let you all know too that the session has been recorded. So I know that there's several persons who said to me they couldn't attend, but they would love to get the recording. And we will have that information sent out and provided to everyone. And also to you, Eudine, so that you have a copy for your grandchildren. So when they're a little older, they can see.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm really, really touched. Thank you. Good to see you, Alison and Geraldine, and everyone. I can't call all the names. Thank you. Alima, blessing, Elsa. Thank you, Molly. Thank you. Oh, all my girls.
Oh, and Michael Morrissey has raised his hand. Karina, can you let him speak?
Oh, I see.
Michael Morrissey is from Bali. He's all the way in Bali.
In Bali, okay.
Yes.
Oh my.
Karina, I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All the way from Bali? Oh.
Yes, all the way from Bali. What a lovely place to be.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I was late drinking coffee when I should have switched on Zoom, but it was the end part which I very much enjoyed. Thank you, Professor, and congratulations on a wonderful career in UWI.
Thank you.
I left, by the way, it's almost, I think 1998 is like 20 something years, and I'm still part.
3.
So you could have another 25 years in front of you in UWI. Bye.
No, that wasn't bite. That was not another 20, anything in UE. But I love UE. I'll be around gender studies. I'll be around the NBU. If Dr. Deschong and Dr. Haynes will have me, I'll be around them.
And there are more people asking for. Veronica Simon is asking,
That's what
looking
we're
forward
hoping.
to your autobiography.
All right. I'll just say all right. Annika, thank you for being here.
Okay, everyone, we're signing off now. Thanks again for coming, and look out for the next top tier talk.
Thank you. And thank you, Craig Tuckett, for your comments and well wishes. Thank you again, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And Lyndon Lewis was here. I call his name, Lyndon. Oh my gosh, my brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and I have to thank Karina Dice, the campus alumni officer from Mona, for helping me facilitate this session. And to all the other campus alumni officers who were here, Roseanne Maxwell from Cave Hill, your very own campus, Sandra Griffith Carrington from the Open Campus, and Camille Edwards from the St. Augustine campus. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Really are happy that you came, and these are young women or younger women who will, I'm sure, make their own mark at the UE just as you have.
Thank you, everyone. Athleen, thank you for coming. Athleen Haynes, one of the best PSs I've worked with in Barbados in education. Thank you for being here, Athleen. I'm kind of getting to see all the names now.